Everybody, welcome to the Age of Quarantine. My name is David Castillo from Saint Vitus. Welcome to this Monday edition. We have the very awesome KW from Vile Creature joining us. Really amazing band. Been around for a couple of years. Just dropped an amazing record on Prosthetic called Glory Glory. Oh, here they are right now. Great record. Check it out. And they've been doing a lot of great stuff. So let's just get right the fuck into it. You can follow me at Pleasure to be here with you all. And let's see where KW is at.
Hey,
KW, what's up? Cheers.
how are you? Cheers. What are we drinking tonight?
Tonight's beer of choice is a Folks beer. Which is a local brewery from Brooklyn, Carroll Gardens, I think. It's a sour beer, good for the warm weather, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And KW, where are you today?
I am sitting in my dining room / amp room at my home in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
Hamilton, Ontario, Canada,
which is that way from you.
Yeah, kind of a border town, right? Not too far from Detroit.
Yeah, no, we're we're 3 hours from Detroit. We're only like an hour from Buffalo, so we're definitely yeah, we're pretty close to Buffalo.
Buffalo. I'm thinking about another city that was closer to Detroit that we passed through, and Hamilton's the one that's closer to Buffalo. So, as you know, in the age of quarantine, we like to just basically get into everybody's and just kind of, talk about the journey of starting to play music and getting into where you're at today. So, KW, did you grow up in Hamilton? Is Hamilton where you've been your life, or where did you grow up?
No, actually, so I only moved to Hamilton like 2.5 years ago. I was born in a tiny town about like an hour and a half north of Toronto called King City, which is like this big. But when I was 2 years old, I moved down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I grew up in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So hold on. I got to switch from Wi-Fi to thing. My internet.
Well, we got our first glitch of the program. Let's see if the internet will cooperate with us. I'm just going to drink a beer until then. This happens in our nice little DIY show.
Switch from Wi-Fi to mobile, and I lost you for a quick second there, but now we're good and we're stable.
Okay, you're back. All right, cool. So,
yeah.
So you grew up in Fort Lauderdale. What were your kind of earliest experiences engaging in music? Was there something that really stuck out to you when you were a kid? What grabbed it?
So yeah, I don't know, like I didn't come from a very like musically inclined family, so to say. Like my mom listened to like pop country, and like all my dad would listen to was like this British band called Level 42 from the 80s.
Oh, I love Level 42.
This can become a Level 42 chat. I've seen them, like we flew in grade 9 when they reunited for the first time in 15 years. I skipped a week of school, and my dad, it's the coolest thing that ever happened. My dad flew us over to England, and we saw 4 of their concerts.
That is commitment. There's something about you,
baby, tonight. Yeah, so that's the first bass line I ever learned.
Oh, really? That's fucking amazing. I love it. Okay, I'm in. I love your whole childhood.
Yeah. No, so it was Level 42 and Sting. Those are the 2 things I grew up listening to, and they were both heavy bass bands. So my first instrument was bass, and I learned how to play like Something About You and like Lessons in Love, but then also like Sting is such a phenomenal bassist, and I feel like it gets lost in everything because of all of his weirdness. And I learned to play a bunch of like 100% the weird tantric sexness. Yeah, so like learning Sting's, like I never got into the Police. It was always Sting's solo stuff, and he's someone I've literally seen 19 or 20 times live. And yeah, like, so learning to play like Sting solo songs and level 42 is kind of how I got into playing music. But I always liked weird, heavy stuff in addition to the weird, not heavy stuff that I listened to. So South Florida in like the early 2000s was very like straight edge hardcore. And then with like weird, I don't know, like new metal. There's not a huge like DIY community in South Florida in the early 2000s. So it was very like going to venues and shows and stuff. And growing up as like a queer kid was always a little suspect being at shows. But yeah, I just like, I don't know, started playing bass, that became guitar, and kind of kept going around and like playing. I played like a solo acoustic guitar for a long time because I never really found anyone to play with, and traveled a lot.
Question for you. So so your father was really into these sort of kind of like new wave-ish kind of bands and sort of output was sort of like that. Why did you just start? You said that the family in general was maybe big music fans, but not players. What made you start picking up bass? Was it just because like that was what was heavily influenced in terms of your early listening?
Yeah, my sister had an acoustic guitar and took lessons for a bit, but fell off. And I always just felt like, I don't know, like, again, I listened to such, like, those two things, literally, like, Sting, Level 42, and Alanis Morissette were the only three things that, like, my dad listened to.
Jagged Little Pill.
Perfect record, start to finish, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And those were the only three records, like, three things I got from my dad. That was basically it. Yeah. So, and all three records are bass-driven. Like, You Ought to Know is a bass song with Alanis singing on it. So, that's kind of where I got into, and I just ended up getting I think my grandparents got me a guitar or a bass when I was 9 or 10 years old. And I just literally was like, okay, so I do this and it'll work. And I just started slapping my thumb, and I learned slap bass was the first thing I learned how to play. And it was super, super fun.
Wow. That's really crazy. It's just kind of nuts because I always am curious about the progression in people's playing and how I feel like these early moments, like you're saying, in Level 42, for some other people, what they grew up around, like I was talking to Robin from Big Brave, she just grew up around country music in Canada, and that was, she really didn't listen to too much heavy music until really college, but what she learned comes out in her playing because she started playing country. And it's kind of evocative of how she approaches the heavy lexicon. So I'm always curious about how these things move everybody, their biography as a person, to kind of continue learning this thing. So like you were saying, South Florida, kind of a really kind of big and diverse scene, right? There's a lot of death metal, a lot of hardcore 2000s stuff.
Oh yeah.
What were the kind of earlier bands that drew you into kind of heavier punk, hardcore metal?
So it would definitely be I was definitely a product of late 90s and early 2000s new metal. I was a big Slipknot guy. There was a couple Finger 11 songs that were really, really big to me. Yeah. I had a very new metal upbringing when it came to getting into heavy stuff. My sister was a bit more cultured when it came to heavy. I think she was she's the person who got me. I have an older sister. She's 2.5 years older than me. And she was the person who had Nine Inch Nails CDs and Stabbing Westward and Alice in Chains and then South Florida is where Marilyn Manson is from. And Manson, Slipknot, that type of stuff. And from there, I don't remember how, but it jumped really quickly into Converge.
Yeah, I mean, Converge is a titan of the game, right? And it's interesting to sort of see. I mean, we all have these different gateways, stuff like that, and how certain things started kind of bringing you in. I mean, for me, it was really the Deftones was a huge, kind of band in and around maybe that time that I dug. There were a bunch of Latino guys, which for me kind of I was like, "Ooh, okay, look at all these Latino dudes playing heavy music."
I see.
Yeah, I'm like, "Oh, this is good." And then I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then very quickly there was VOD is from New York, and oh, okay, Vision of Disorders, great, from my backyard, sick of it all. This was there. Besides Converge, was there like a local band that all of a sudden you were like, oh, this shit is happening right around?
Yeah, I would say like so. Poison the Well was like they weren't a huge influence on me, but they were very much around at the time, and like kind of the leaders in South Florida heavy at that point. So like Poison the Well was there. All Hell Breaks Loose. Torch was kicking around. The End of Floor was around then. Trying to think like yeah, the big one for me was there was this band called Into the Moat, who were like a big South Florida mathcore, what's it called? Yeah, big South Florida mathcore band. And
for me one more time.
Into the Moat.
Okay, Into the Moat.
They were on Metal Blade for a second. They released a big record. They were like the first big like hardcore metalcore band to kind of, or like mathcore, like 700 notes in a song, really wild and very big for me. And it turned out, so when I was 14, 15, I got a job sorting all of the used records at Uncle Sam's Music, which was like the independent record store in Broward County. There wasn't another one. So a guy who worked there, his name was Rob, and he was always super supportive, and he played guitar in this band Into the Moat. And he helped me get there. They were paying me, I think, like $5 for a day to just sort all of the like priced 50-cent dollar used records. And then I did that from like 14 to 15. And then right when I turned 16, someone left and they gave me an actual job because Rob brought me in. And like, I was a weird, queer kid who I was outgoing, but didn't have a ton of friends. And I was in really rough spots and getting the shit kicked out of me constantly. And Rob really brought me under his wing and showed me what like friendship and care was like from like another dude. And that wasn't really, it's very like bro masculine in the early 2000s, and words like trans and queer weren't really in the lexicon,
No, I totally agree.
So Rob really brought me in and like introduced me to Converge and The End and Yob and a bunch of other bands, and really helped me kind of grow and become the person that I ended up becoming. And it's wonderful because Rob ended up leaving that band, moving to St. Augustine and starting a band called Dark Castle.
That Rob. Got it.
It's Rob Schaefer. He ended up drumming in Yob. He plays in a million bands. He's one of the most talented guitarists in the world. And like I've said it before, and I'll say it till I die. Like Rob Schaefer saved my life. He shaped me into the person who I am today. And part of the reason why I was confident into fast forwarding a bit, going into starting a 2-piece band was because I was there for Rob and Stevie's first practice as Dark Castle. And I knew that it could be done, and it could be done like in a rad way. So yeah, like my big awakening was Rob Schaefer.
Thing that you kind of mentioned this sort of, so Rob's a little bit older than you are, I'm taking it?
Yeah, Rob's got like 4 or 5 years on me.
Yeah, it's really amazing to me how different music scenes, heavy music and stuff like that, it can be like a refuge for people, especially younger people who are finding themselves all sorts of different ways, whether that be politically, sexually, just want to, explore different facets of life, and music can be like the gateway to new communities that are like outside your neighborhood, or like, why would I go here or why would I go there? For me, hardcore was really, and punk and like a lot of this sort of stuff was really, I grew up on Long Island in New York, which is a very segregated place, but it's an insanely segregated place, really by town, and hardcore changed where I would go. Why would I go over here, or why would I go over there to go to a show or something else? And it changed my map, and that started changing my mind a lot as far as who I met and all those different things. And I, much like you, also had different people who kind of took me under the wing, were willing to show me some things. Some of the guys like, Gary and Paul from Kill Your Idols, Ron Grimaldi, and people like that. Chris Enriquez, my co-host on the show, is older than me, was drumming in On the Might of Prince, one of the bands from Long Island. It's really amazing when you find that. So you found this little awakening there. The record store. Tell me what the record store meant to you, because places where people can meet up and share ideas, I think, are really important. This is one of those in a different way. But tell me about the record store a little bit.
Yeah, so Uncle Sam's was just a one-of-a-kind place that I would like. I wish it still existed. It was the greatest. It was like a big record store, still had vinyl before the vinyl boom happened, like before the vinyl boom really came back in the like mid-2000s. We also had a big loft space upstairs called The Loft where we would do big in-stores and have like large acts come and do in-stores. And I got to book shows there. It was really like Uncle Sam's showed me how to function in the music industry outside of playing music, which was really fun. And again, I was like, you know, the owners were in their late 20s. Everybody who worked there was in university. And I was just like 16-year-old kid that like finagled his way into a job there. I like failed upwards into being able to work there a few days a week. And it like completely changed the scope of who I was. Again, like with Rob being there, it like helped me become be comfortable with who I am and just like not cower away from South Florida bros and be like, oh, there are rad people. And if you say differently, go fuck yourself. Like that came from finding confidence in the record store and talking to people about music and also being this like weird looking dude who could very easily talk to you about like the Tragically Hip, the Hold Steady and Level 42, as well as I'll talk to you about like Converge and Torch and Yop. Like it really, it like widened my entire range of being, it's like, it gave me an appreciation for all different types of music. The big thing, it showed me how to find something to like in any style of music, even if it's not something I'm going to listen to again. Find something to influence you as a person and find a good thing to your ear, whether it's like a drum sound or a bass lick or of like respecting a vocalist's chops, you know?
Absolutely. I think that's a really great point because just listening is so key to being a musician. You know, I mean, I grew up, you know, listening to lots of hardcore and stuff, and when I did Primitive Weapons, and then I did White Widow's Pets and stuff like that, you know, a lot of it is just, you know, starting to play music and then learning that, wow, this one element takes so much to create, and maybe I can hang on to those elements, or why do I even respond to certain things that way? Like, oh, this makes me want to move, this makes me want to dance, this makes me want to like bang my head, like, but like why? And discovering those things I think is so important, especially for a young musician, right?
Oh, 100%. And it's one of those things, like if you're talking like to talk about like just music writing in essence, like if you play in a metal band and all you listen to is metal, you're gonna end up just being influenced by the things that you love, which is a great thing, but you're gonna end up sounding like all of your influences, as opposed to like for our band, like Vic, not exclusively, we both listen to heavy music, but like Vic listens to dark wave and dance music 90% of the time. Like that's where their head's at. I listen to like on a daily basis, I listen to the Tragically Hip, the Hold Steady. Like those are basically the two things that I listen to more of all. I listen to a lot of Sting. I listen to a lot of Broadway original. I'm a huge musical theater nerd, so I listen to a lot of musical theater. And then we come to heavy music from those outside influences and take in the movement and the pacing, and you're able to create something that's wholly different while still sounding like the genre that you want to play or you're trying to do. And I feel like taking those influences is so important, and like having a wide berth in music. And again, like we were talking about, to bring it back, is like finding influence in anything that you listen to is so crucial for young musicians, old musicians. Just listen to a Taylor Swift song and find out why there's something rad in there. Because if 30 million people love it, there's a reason for it. There's something great in everything.
Yeah, I agree. And that's really true of just understanding maybe how things work. You get under the hood of the car and you say, like, oh, this is what it is. You don't have to listen to it a million times, but it's cool. And you kind of keep on going. I mean, it's the same thing until I started making like industrial and techno in Confines, the project that I do by myself now. I mean, mostly I listened to that the whole time, and it's been in the bands in different ways that sometimes will be subtle, and sometimes it's like, oh, we put keyboards on that or something else because we like that sort of stuff. So you're working at the record store, you're playing, you're trying to figure some stuff out, and you know, playing a couple of shows. How did you start coming, and around what time of your life did you start putting together Vile Creature and sort of the idea for it? And what made you want to do that over?
So way later, so much ground, right? So I graduated high school in 2006 at 18. I teacher until 2014. So I was 26. So it was a long time. I played acoustic music and traveled with it for like 10 years. I was doing some tour managing. I did a lot of like traveling around. And then I actually left music for about 5 years. I left the States. I was living in Philadelphia. I was managing a musical act. It did not go well. I had not like a breakdown, but I had a real crisis of confidence and moved back to Canada. I hadn't played an instrument in a really long time. I was really, I just hadn't really thought about music in a while. And then I met Vic, and we started dating, and Vic had always wanted to play an instrument, always wanted to learn how to play drums. And I was like, yeah, if you get a drum set, I'll teach you how to play. It's an instrument I love and know how to play. And Vic bought a drum set like 10 days later, and we sat down and I picked up my guitar for the first time in like 4 years. And we started playing as a means for Vic to learn how to play music. And we both started feeding off one another. Very fortunately, Vic was meant to play drums. They were holding full beats at the end of an hour of drumsticks. And after 3 months, we had our first record written of 3 15-minute long songs. So our first record was 3 months of learning how to play an instrument.
So I want to touch a little bit on the acoustic music, because it's not necessarily surprising how it helps your tastes and stuff like that, but what kind of led you to do that for a while, and what was that sort of in between?
I had a lot of stuff that I needed to express, and I didn't feel confident in writing with other people. I never found people to write with. South Florida wasn't welcoming. I was in university in Tallahassee, and I had an acoustic guitar, and I'd written poetry for a long time. So I started just playing acoustic guitar and kind of talking over it and talking through stuff, and like did it for a really long time. And it just was a means of being creative, because I didn't really have anyone to write with, and I'd never really written with anyone. So I knew how to play and write songs. So I just kind of did it and DIY'd it myself, and ended up touring the world for 8 years with it.
Wow. Okay. What was the name of the project? Just out of curiosity.
Oh God. It was called I Made This Mistake. It was all lowercase, all one word, and it was very not good.
Right.
But it was, but it was a time in my life.
Yeah, no, and that's also good to know. Like, all of this is a journey, right? We're talking about this wide thing, and it's a big journey. I mean, people do a lot of different things. And not everything that you take at your birth is going to be successful and or good, and it doesn't necessarily matter, because where you get and the things that you do, that's really important. So this band almost happened by accident.
100% by accident.
Okay, so you start dating Vic, she's playing drums, and it just starts really coming together. So I guess there's no like genre song kind of earlier on. You just started jamming, and that's what kind of came out.
Yeah, 100%. Very quickly, Vic's they, not she, just so you know for future. And yeah, it was, it's okay, but correct it and we're all good. No worries. So it was one of those things where, Vic was playing. Like, we started playing, and Vic was really good at just keeping that low, slow rock beat. And I just started playing to it. And we literally just started writing that way. So playing slow is just a force of, like, it's just force of habit, just because that's how Vic was learning. And that's kind of how we started. And yeah, we didn't have any, like, we bonded when we first met. We bonded over Loving Vow, which you can hear in our music. We both have Vow tattoos. So yeah, 100%. So, and great people. We're fortunate to like know them now, and they're like the most angelic humans. So it worked out really well. So yeah, we just kind of like started playing low and slow, and Vic was starting to get really good at things. And then 3 months later, we had a record, and it was literally like, Vic was like, I want to learn how to play. And I'm like, what's your bucket list? And Vic was like, I want to record a record, and I want to go on tour, and I want to do these things. I'm like, let's fucking do it. Why not? Like, there's nothing holding us back. So we recorded a record. We started touring, like playing some shows locally. And then I used a bunch of my old acoustic contacts to put together some weird shows in the States in our first like few months. And we just kind of started playing and having a really good time doing it. And this whole band started off, This whole band started off as legitimately like a bucket list of things that Vic wanted to do, and I was very happy to be a part of helping craft with them. And it's turned into something that we both just love to do because we get like catharsis and it's fun. So that's all we care about.
It's kind of a beautiful thing, though, is to be able to enjoy those moments and go, hey, you know, that's a cool way to go about it. Like setting goals are almost based on like experience and stuff like that.
Yep.
It's not like super later in life, but when I started Primitive Weapon with Chris and Artie's also a co-host here, there's the three of us and our friend Eric. I was 27 going on 28, and I had stopped playing music for about 3 years at the time. And I just kind of wanted to start something that ended up not sounding anything at all like what I had hoped to start. But that's because the players are fucking amazing. so
right.
I'm just sitting here singing. But I got to experience and see the world in this such a unique and beautiful way that only music really does for you, right? How was it?
100%.
You've been through that before on your own, taking your partner and doing that sort of thing.
Oh, it was honestly to this day, it's still like the first like 2 years of being in the band was one of the, and I'm not saying it's not now, but it's one of the most inspiring and constantly fun and elating things I ever got to do, because I got to witness someone that I love passionately experience all the stuff that I've been doing for 15 years for the first time through fresh lens. And that like energy to be around completely washed on me. So it was the first time I got to play metal, which is a genre I've loved. It was completely new for me in a lot of realms, but it was like, you know, I fit into an old pair of combat boots, but Vic just got their first pair and they're just taking them out for a ride for the first time. Yeah. So it was just like, it was so much fun and it was so great. And it like Vic really latched onto it and loved it really quickly. And we just like you said earlier, we set a bunch of like attainable things that I knew was like, you want to go on tour? We can book a DIY tour. That sounds. Sorry?
Sorry, I lost you there for a quick second, KW.
Oh, I'm here.
You said you want to go on a tour, and then you guys did, and it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it was great. You know, we get to like go to places where there's restaurants we want to eat at and then play a show that night and then move on to the next one because we're both food loving people. And like, it's band vacation. It's great. We never had aspirations of doing this full time. It was just something for fun and catharsis. And that's how it's been since the beginning. Seeing that grow and morph has always just been wonderful. And when we started, we set these attainable goals. And then this one ridiculous one where it was like, one day it would be the coolest thing ever to play Roadburn. Roadburn is a place we've always wanted to go to that festival. It's always something we love. We're like, it would be so cool to do it one day, but nah. And then last year or 2 years ago, we were asked to play Roadburn 2019. And it was one of the coolest moments we've ever got to share together where we got to do it and play. And it was like amazing. So it's just one of those. Sorry?
Go to Europe. Was that the first time for abroad?
That was the second time. So we did, Vic always wanted to go. So we played, it was like December of 2018. We went on tour with a band called Bismuth in the UK. And which is where we like hung out, and they were label mates of ours on a DIY label called Dry Cough for a while. And we met them and instantly became great friends. And then both of our bands got to play Roadburn 2019 together. And then we were asked to do, we were supposed to be this past April, but obviously we're in the worst possible timeline right now. So it's not till 2021, but we're the commissioned music. We're doing a collaborative piece for Roadburn 2021 as our bands together. So it all kind of got to come together in a really cool way.
That's an amazing and beautiful thing, and kind of the growth and the journey kind of just unfold like that sort of easily must be really satisfying. So why, could I ask you a question? So how did you guys name the band Vile Creature? I love the name, and it always kind of just stood out to me a little bit. I'm like, it seems kind of simple, but at the same time, effective.
It's a great metal band name, and honestly, I'm surprised that no one had taken it before 2014. It's dumb that no one had. I think there was like an Irish pop band called Vile Creatures, but there were zero bands named Vile Creature. And Vic Vic thought it up. Vic was just like, what about vile creature? I think they were reading a book and there was a passage about a vile creature in it. I was just like, yeah, that sounds cool, but somebody's definitely called that. And then we checked, like, we Googled it, we checked the metal archives, we checked Wikipedia. No one had it. So we were like, vilecreature.bandcamp, that's ours now. It literally was just like, this sounds cool. How does nobody have this? This is us now.
That's amazing. Yeah, super cool that just sort of happened, because it felt like that. But like, I've never heard of any other violent creatures when I search for it at the time, and I'm like, how the fuck did that happen?
People fucked up not using this band name. It was a gift to us after so long and so many bands. I don't know how no one used the name, and I'm very happy to be the one. And it's funny now because like, what used to, when you Google search vile creature, it used to show up a bunch of terrible things, and now like the first 3 pages is just my dumb face, so it's great.
Hey, all right, not bad at all.
We're search engine optimized.
SEO optimized. I'm gonna grab myself a little after dinner. A Maletti. Ever had stuff?
No, what is it?
It's an Amaro. It's a little sweeter than Fernet. I'm fucking digging on this hardcore.
Is that like your nightcap drink?
Yeah, man. I'm old now, so this is what I do. So, question for you. So, you released the first record. You start touring on it, and then the group had another one, right? Right after the first one.
So yeah, we did so like I said, I was like 3 months after we started playing music together and Vic started playing drums, we recorded our first record, which is called A Steady Descent into the Soil. We recorded it in like August of 2014 or like September or something and put it out right at the beginning of 2015. And then we recorded a little EP. Well, when I say a little EP, I mean one song that was 18 minutes long.
I think
called
the first thing I had heard of yours was that.
Really?
18-minute song. Like, whoa, okay, they're swinging.
Yeah, we did a pessimistic doomsayer, and then we took some time and we like wanted to, like, for the first time, like we'd never done a cycle or any of that dumb shit. We were just like, let's sit down and write. Let's like write a fucking record. Like we had done this is all of our songs, and we had done a first focused little bit, and you're like, let's put a record together. And we so a couple years later, which would be like 2018, I think it was, we put out our second record, which was called Cast of Static and Smoke, which was like a full-on LP, and it came with a storybook because we wrote like a full sci-fi story for it, and the songs were reactions to it, and we got some friends to play on it, and that was like our first couple records were just us playing, and then I feel like the first time people like heard about us mostly was when our like actual second record came out in 2018, which was Cast of Static and Smoke.
Got it, yeah, and that definitely I felt. So there was that kind of intermezzo, that 18-minute intermezzo, and then that was the kind of the record where I was like, oh, okay, this band's doing a lot of stuff now and really put together a nice collection of songs. How did it start feeling? It seems like there was just more attention starting to kind of come to the band. How did it feel? Just having something that started off so kind of rather innocently and fun start to gain a little bit of steam. How did that impact the band as a whole, really?
I hope this doesn't sound dumb, but it impacted us in no way whatsoever. So we, Vic and myself, we own businesses. That's what, we have full-time jobs. So Vic and I own a bakery, a vegan bakery and deli together. Before that, we owned a food truck together.
Vegan bakery, so good.
I agree. And Vic's like a legit chef. Plug the business. So our businesses we owned a food truck called Rescue Dogs Vegan Hot Dogs, which was a vegan hot dog cart. We own right now it's called Coven. It's a vegan bakery, deli, and grocery here in Hamilton. And then I'm also a co-owner of a tattoo shop called Sleepy Bones Tattoo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then I also do some consulting work as well for other businesses.
We got a little lag there.
Lost you for a second.
KW, sorry. We missed you do some consulting work. That's where we left off as well for other food businesses in the Hamilton area.
stuff like that. And yeah, just like other like small food-based businesses getting stuff. So we're very like.
So for you two, the group, it has to fall within sort of the realms of extracurricular vibes. It's very similar to with Saint Vitus.
It's pure creative catharsis. That's what we love about it. This band has always just been our outlet and our creativity and our art. And we've never put pressure on it to be anything other than that, regardless of how many people are paying attention or how many people aren't. We just love doing it for ourselves. So after Past the Static and Smoke, it seemed like that's the release tour for that was the first time we got to come and play Saint Vitus. Like first time, right? Like that record got us to play Roadburn, and it's like when things are like taking a step up industry wise, we just really enjoy playing together, and that's really all that matters. So we kind of don't like, we appreciate it and love it, but we don't pay a ton of attention to it as far as like how it changes our attention or what we would do with the band, because this band's just pure fun and always will be, and when it's not, we won't do it.
Sure, yeah, and I think it also leads to longevity and just kind of like, you know, pure, like, like that's when Neurosis operates pretty similarly, you know, in a lot of ways. So in reality, it's just really the choices that different artists decide to make, how much they want the band to be their life, how much they're willing to give up. And these are really like big things. It's kind of cool that from the outset it was just steadfastly think not try to move into that, despite the fact that you're getting maybe different opportunities and different looks into, you know, just doing really cool stuff, right?
Yeah, we appreciate the hell out of the fact that it's like oh, hold on one second. Vic, she got sprayed by a skunk and she was outside. Our dog just got sprayed by a skunk, so it smells terrible in my house right now.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Angus is in here right now.
Can you? Yeah, or put her outside, one of the two. It's going to get all in the house. Sorry about that, Chris. Yeah, this is Hex. Hex is a wonderful dog. I'm going to show you Hex. And we're all going to shame Hex because she just got sprayed by a skunk. She's a dummy.
It's more so I forgot to.
Oh, no.
You got to take care of it because it's going to smell the house out.
Right now.
There, go. Yeah, she's a weirdo. Oh, she's already in, Heather Awful. It's happened. She's just sad. She got left out back in the backyard. We live in rural Ontario, so. Hex. But yeah, back to music stuff. Well, all I can smell right now is chemical skunk. That's all I can smell at this moment. And it's not like the skunk smell, which is like very, like it smells like weed. It's the like chemical smell that is god awful.
Yeah, totally. Because sometimes you smell that maybe you're driving through a place.
Sorry.
You're like, oh, it kind of smells like weed. And you're like, nah, that's just skunks, man.
Yeah.
New Hampshire. And so I smell that smell pretty often. Okay.
My nose hurts right now. But going back to the fun stuff, yeah, we always did this as a fun creative project. That's always what it was. And it's been really cool because, like, you know, when as people, I guess, have paid attention or whatever, and we don't have any sense of grandiose, we're a small band and we love that. But as people seem to care more and we get more opportunities, it's all with the caveat that everyone we work with knows, like, hey, we can play shows a few weeks a year in small patches, but we have lives and we have to do that. And, you know, like when we decided to work with the label we're working with, they knew we're not a full-time touring band. It's not a thing that we can do. We don't aspire for it. It's never going to happen. And that's not going to change. So we're very upfront with people about that we work with, and everyone's been supportive so far, and it hasn't changed anything. So it's just been pure fun and really wonderful so far to be in this band. And yeah, like you said with Neurosis and stuff, it's just like, it's going to be fun or we're not going to do it because there's no point.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. There's too many other things that are fucked up.
So many other things.
Not a good time. So question, well, when Wild Creature, it seems like at the beginning, Vic was learning how to play. Now I'm sure, fast forward, 5, 6, 7 years later, Vic, I know Vic's really fucking listen to the record. So now the songwriting, how has it evolved from the kind of earlier jam it out kind of stages? Still, you live together, so it is about kind of keeping the room, which is not necessarily the case for a lot of bands, especially now in COVID. But yeah, like literally there. So
We're in our house, which is also our practice space.
yeah. So is it just really still just sitting down, playing, jamming it out? How did the songs kind of come together now? Because when I listen to Glory, especially, there's kind of like new levels and even new palettes that are that are kind of being approached in that record. So
Thank you.
Curious to know about how that has sort of been tweaked over time.
So our writing process is interesting. It's very like, so Vic and I, when we know we're going to sit down to work on a piece, we have a conversation about what do we want to change? What do we want to do? Is there a thing? What do we want to write about? Do we want to bring in an influence? We kind of just go, because like I play, we're just a guitar and drums. So it's going to sound like whatever I write and whatever Vic, like whatever drums go over it. So I get some direction from Vic, and a lot of it's me kind of playing around and playing riffs. This last time I played guitar for like an hour and a half a day, and I would record anything that I loved that came up and just save it all. And then we would kind of, at one point we went through all of it, and I kind of figured out what we liked and kind of put things together. And then I'll kind of come up with a bass line, or like the bass line ideas for the song, not bass, the guitar, but just bass line. Like I'll come up with the structure of a song, and then we'll kind of put together what's going to happen with drums. And then the last thing we'll do is vocals. It's kind of I write a lot of it overarchingly, and then Vic and I kind of orchestrate it together, which it works out really well so far, especially with the Glory record. The last half of the record, I co-wrote with someone else. The like big choir thing was something that we intentionally wrote with our friend Laurel, who's like an amazing vocalist.
I wanted to ask you about that. I was getting there as well. The record is fucking great. I really love it.
Thank you.
It's awesome. And one of the things that I love about it too is that I feel like it takes the vile creature kind of sound and kind of, the two vocals, the lower, the high, and the screaming around, the way it sort of combines to create sort of like a different timbre and screaming and things of that nature. I think things are a little bit more grandiose in scale and feeling this time around in the record, and then towards the end, it starts to me kind of opening up into this. There's more bits of melody, even in the heavier stuff, and then you have this beautiful, sort of almost like choral sort of salvo that I was like really like.
It's a full choir. It's a full on choir. It's a live choir that recorded it.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I was just like, wow, okay. That's really cool. So tell me about just writing with somebody else for the record, and how did that come about, but also the choir thing, because I'm so intrigued. It's a really beautiful part of the record.
Yeah, thank you. So like I said earlier, I'm a huge musical theater nerd. I've wanted to write a giant choir piece my whole life. And one of the first things that Vic and I decided on for this record, I'm like, Vic, I'm writing a choir piece for the record. And Vic was like, fucking go for it. The first riff that I came up with for the record was the little between part between the choir piece and the heavy riff that ends up going over the really heavy riff. And we were just both really into it. Laurel, who's the vocalist, sang on that Pessimistic Doomsayer, that little 18-minute missive that we did in 2017 or 16 or whatever. Same vocalist.
Okay.
So we're big keeping the family people. Like we've had the same people screen print all of our merch. We've recorded with the same person each time. We're vile creatures of habit. And yeah, so I talked with Laurel, and she came over, and I played through my ideas with her, and we came up with the melodies together. I showed her my guitar licks and kind of like how it was interwoven and how we wanted the parts to mesh. And we like full on wrote the melodies together, and then I had her place the lyrics in a way that made sense. And she plays in a band called Minuscule, which is her with a ukulele and a 12-piece choir. That's her band.
That's it. I love it. It's Minuscule. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's phenomenal pop music. It's so good. And she just plays locally around Niagara. And Minuscule we used her whole choir on our record. We were like, can I borrow let me take that choir and put it here. So yeah, we recorded, and it was so much fun to write with Laurel. We played live with her before, and she played on our like live show we just did, and I would write with her forever because she's one of the most talented vocalists I've ever met, and she does not listen to any heavy music. She has zero basis in heavy music. She's like theater and pop.
You were saying before, that brings in a flavor.
I love it.
Like giving it something else too. Even kind of, you know, in a way, it almost reminds me of you could maybe make comparisons like Swans and Jarbo, bringing somebody else from the outside in to bring in other elements, but they're like then maybe kind of come apart to the degree of the group, and you're like, oh, kind of waiting for that kind of come here and there. Right?
Oh yeah, our band's very much Vic and I, but we have a lot of extended family. Like there's a lot of like Laurel's a part of our project in some way. Stephen Wilson, who does all of our art, like I would say 95% of our art's been done by one person. We jokingly call him the art director of our band. We just send him stuff to do, and he does the thing that we need when we need it. Like we're very big, like we love the people that we get to work with. They're the kindest, most wonderful people, and we'll always work with them if we can because we love and trust and respect them, and they show as much like intuition and care towards the stuff that we do as we do, you know? So it's just great to have that like extended musical family that's like a part of it with us. And like I would write more pieces with Laurel any day of the week.
Well, because I thought that was one of the more beautiful, interesting parts of the record, just because it came out of sort of nowhere, but it was sort of building to something. I felt like the track sequencing, and it went like this really sort of wild click.
Thank you.
It was really, really cool. So kudos to you on building all of that and how beautiful it is. And the heavy stuff is absolutely wonderful too. I feel again like it's coalesced into more of a vile creature sound, where I feel like it's starting to become more signature as it kind of, you know, a lot of bands getting you're like, ooh, I think I hear the idea, I think it's like really cool, and then let's see how further up the road they go, and I feel like Glory is you guys are getting to that signature spot. I'm like, that's the vile creature thing. Other people don't have that thing. That's the vile creature thing. So you have to go to vile creature for it.
Yeah, gay and emotional and heavy. That's where we are, and I love it. Yeah.
So let me ask you about that actually. So I actually asked Dream Crusher this not too long ago. Crusher really wears their identity on their sleeve. I mean, it's like Dream Crusher, the logo, and then it's like nihilist queer revolt music. You know, and it's like right there. It's like this is right out front. Like you're not gonna miss it. Like this is what you're getting yourself into. Which for some folks maybe it's an interesting choice artistically, and I think that your group has always put that forward and forth. Right? Queer, vegan, anti-oppressive, and as you do that, I think that that's really maybe a little bit different for the scene to have such a super politicized band. Maybe there's a vow, a divide and dissolve. Maybe things are changing a little bit as well. Talk to me about some of those choices, and obviously in the lyrics of a lot of the material, where the subject matter is talking about a lot of these issues.
Yeah, I mean, well, we just like are who we are as people, right? Like we're like Vic's gender neutral. Like Vic uses they them pronouns. They're non-binary. We're both very, very queer, and it's just like we are like our music's inherently political because we're inherently political people, and like, you know, the tagline for our band that has stuck for the last 5 years is "Angry Queer Gloom Cult." That's what's on all of our stuff. And we.
I couldn't remember it off the top of my head, so I was like, I can't. What is it? It's gloom. Is it? I'm gonna just let them.
Yeah, you're good. We can. We'll quiz you next time. But yeah, it's what's it called? Yeah, so like it's not like I guess it was a choice to be like out front political, but that's just because who we are as people. And, you know, the old adage is write what you know. And we wrote about our experiences growing up as like queer people in the world at a time when it wasn't a thing. Like queer was a word you called somebody before you hit them, not when it's a self-identifier that is positive. And trans wasn't a thing. It was something you made fun of. Like, you know, growing up and like being in the hospital multiple times for getting the shit kicked out of you for being different. And like, we just talked about our experiences. And when we started, we're not the first band to talk about these things by any stretch, especially in heavy music. But like 6 years ago when we started, all of our shows were with like queercore, like pop punk and hardcore bands and like a noise act. There wasn't a lot of like fucking metal that was very like politically out front, and it's great to see how it's grown over the last 6 years. But for us, it's less of a like a choice to do this, and more it's just us being authentically ourselves. And even when we like made a record that's a sci-fi story where we built our own world, like our first record was very specifically talking about our experiences growing up as queer kids. And then our second record was talking about how like escapism is so important and valid for people, how the friends you make through like the characters you love in a TV show or in a book or the song that you love is as valid of a relationship and as a friend as people in real life. And you shouldn't discount that because your escape is super important. And then from there, we made our own escape and made our own world. And the record now, Glory, Glory, Apathy, So Calm, is very much kind of like peeling that back and just talking more in general about the ideas of like bashing back against apathy and always making sure you're doing positive change within the world. And yeah, I don't know. It comes down to just writing what we know and being very authentically ourselves without really giving a fuck what people think. Because I don't do it in my normal life. I don't care. So why would I care in my musical life? Like what? Some weird right-wing dickbag is going to be upset that some gays are making heavy music? Well, like, I'm sorry to tell you about Judas Priest. Like, my apologies. Don't listen to Black Sabbath, War Pigs. Like, let's take a big step back there, bud. You're a fucking idiot. So yeah, it's just us being us.
It's an interesting way that I think that different people approach their identity within their art and how they do that. I think there's a wide range of folks who do things in many different ways, and so I'm always just sort of curious, and I always think it's just kind of like you said, the artists themselves. It's within the thing that we listen to is your biography playing out through like artistic media.
Very much so.
That's it's always going to have these flavors and these different things, no matter if it's like right there in the tagline of the band or something. Like it's just going
yep.
there like listen, you know what I mean? Like actually listen. It's important when you listen to music to listen.
100%.
So I always just think that that's like a beautiful thing, and it's great. And it's great to now sort of see different aspects from all over the world in the scene. And having, I feel like I look at, I'm 37 years old, right? And when I grew up in a hardcore, New York hardcore kind of scene and stuff. And I'm from one of the, Long Island is very segregated, but Queens and Manhattan and Brooklyn and stuff like that, completely not. So you venture in there and there's all sorts of folks and you learn a lot of things. But, growing up, I didn't meet or know too many people. I didn't meet trans people till way later in my life where I meet certain folks like that. So again, music, connecting folks, learning about new things, and also new experiences through the art is such a beautiful and powerful thing. I think it's great to have it in all these different palettes for people to enjoy.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it's great for us. The thing I think we feel is really great is that it's always great to have representation. So growing up, I was always really drawn to for when I came to heavy music, I was really drawn to Torch because Steve doesn't give a fuck. He's just this big, his guitar had that fucking mud flap with a big chubby dude on it. And I'm just like, yes, thank you. I appreciate you. Brian Cook from Botch and Russian Circles and These Arms Are Snakes. The way he interacted as a confident human being throughout the world helped mold me into someone who's just not scared of just being myself and being a big queer, because that's fucking wonderful. Who cares? And then growing up in a place like South Florida where it's very bye-bye, it helped me be comfortable and confident to go into a space, say who I am, be what I am, and then not be afraid to back that up if needed and back up other people. And I find that to be very like, I don't know, it's very empowering for me to know like I'm not afraid to go into a room and like be a New York hardcore guy about it, because sometimes you need that, and you need the big scary bearded queers to help protect the little tender queers sometimes, and that's okay. And like having a band that's like heavy and gnarly and has representation, like that's the big thing that warms I feel like warms our hearts a lot, is when we get like messages from really rad people being like, I always loved Doom and it's nice to see other queers making Doom. And I'm like, fuck yeah, man, that rules.
Yeah, no, totally. I think about, you know, even stories about, you know, like Kathy and Hannah and, you know, women reaching out to her back in the day. And you watch the punk singer and stuff. She has like a box of like letters that women, you know, written her talking about her lyrics, what she was doing for punk and everything that, you know, she did from Teenage Girl to Achiever. But in my really just, it's really cool to sort of see all of that being connected. So we only have a little bit more time, and I want to touch on something that just happened, which was the big live stream that you did on Friday, which really was.
Did you get a chance to check it out?
Yeah, I did. I went and I was like clicking through. I'm like doing my hair. I'm like getting ready to go meet my friends. It was really well done. You know, the vantage point you had our boy Gorsenio, 2 minutes late. I put Jordan in there, and yeah, I thought it turned out great. Could you just talk about producing that and what that was like for a quick second, and also tell people where they can go see it?
Yeah, it's a gloryglorylive.com. We played our record start to finish with like an extra musician, and we did our choir piece, and we're getting bugged to do a live stream from our label because we put a record out and you can't tour on it, and we were supposed to tour a ton this year. And I think I told you earlier privately, but the day that we did the show was the day we were supposed to play Saint Vitus. We had a hold on Saint Vitus for Friday.
Yes, and that was gonna happen, and I was so pumped. I was like,
and it didn't.
Things like that now. I'm like.
But yeah, we built our own venue. We filmed it from many, many, many angles, and we were able to create we got a cease and desist letter from the company, so it's an adventure your own choice, pick your own path, interactive, immersive concert where you can pick where you stand, and you can have a tall guy stand in front of you, and you can check out the merch guy eating cupcakes over our merch the whole time. And we just wanted to create something. If we were going to do a live stream, it was going to be something that was uniquely us and not been done. So we wanted to make sure that it was as close to a concert. Like, I can't make you smell body odor and stale cigarettes, but I can bring you everything else. So we didn't invent smell-o-vision, but yeah, we just wanted to do something interesting and unique. And the show will be up for another couple weeks. It's gloryglorylive.com. And it's, we had Gorsenio Hall was our door guy. And Drew, also the other half of 2 Minutes to Late Night, was our editor. So it worked out.
That's beautiful. You got the whole family in there.
Sorry, I lost you there for a sec.
No, it's cool. I said it's beautiful. You got the whole family in there, you know.
It was really great.
Great. And it's really cool to see artists trying to embrace some creativity in this time and to get their messages and music out to the world. So, KW, I just want to thank you for taking the time out to hang with us. It's sad that we didn't do it in person, but we will do that. Thank you for the great record. It's one of the best of the year, guys. So go.
Thanks, buddy.
Wherever you do those things, preferably because it helps the artist out the most.
And Vinyl Fantasy in Brooklyn if you're in New York.
Yeah, and Vinyl Fantasy. Go see Alana and Joe and those folks.
Angels.
So thanks again a lot, and I'll talk to you soon. All right? Have a wonderful evening.
Have a great night, buddy. Thanks so much for having me. Bye.
Bye.